and welcome to J Talks Cars. This is a little bit of a different one. You kind of join me a little bit in the future to the next segment. Basically, in this video, I was a bit short on ideas in terms of content and everything. Plus, also my other content on my other channel, Vader Monkey Vlogs, has been taking priority recently. So I'm kind of just catching up a little bit, and the recent content I think was about 3-4 weeks ago. So the reason for this introduction is I just kind of want to talk about a few things as well. Firstly, I'm going to be doing bits to prepare my car. I'll be filming at the Ultimate Show, which is at Liverpool Exhibition Centre on the 5th of July. And I've somehow got a media pass to film this content, and I'm hoping to film enough content to cover several J Talks Cars videos, just to kind of spread the content out a little bit. I'm going with a friend of mine who also works in the motor trade, but also we're kind of like knowing each other through our other love, which is through dance music and stuff like that. And he's coming with me to this event. He's an absolute car fan, absolute car nut. He absolutely loves everything, right from the exotic to just the downright strange. And he'll be joining me on this content as well. So we're going to be talking about some of the cars that are going to be there, and basically, you know, what we're going to be experiencing at this event. In the next segment is I attended something called a truck pull, which was to raise money for St. Catherine's Hospice. My partner works for the company that supplied the trucks and was part of the sponsorship for the event. And you know, I just thought, you know, I'll show a bit of local content as well. And I felt, you know, just a few little clips and stuff like that, a little montage of stuff going on with that might go down well. I mean, end of the day, I'm experimenting a little bit with this channel whilst I'm kind of in between content and stuff. The car meet content will start. It's just been finding a free evening to get to events, to get to meets and stuff like that. So I'm just in the process of figuring out in my diary and my schedule of when's a free week, so I can provide you with a bit more car content and a bit more on the local northwest car scene, as well as other meets and other projects that are involved. Also, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a backseat with a bit of content over not this coming month, but probably in a few months' time, because of personal circumstances. So the content on this channel will be a little less regular. I mean, it's already irregular as it is. It'll be a little less regular because of circumstances. Talking about my other channel, Vader Monkey Vlogs, there will be Vader Monkey Vlogs, but again, that will determine on the situation within my circumstances as well. So yeah, this is just another episode of J Talks Cars, just kind of things that I do out and about. This starts off more truck content than it does car content, but I just kind of want to do this little intro bit, just kind of talk to you about certain things, and you know, yeah, just hopefully you guys are still on board, and I hope you guys are enjoying. I mean, I know this channel doesn't have that many subscribers. This is a relatively new channel. I started this channel not really having a full idea of what direction I wanted to take it. I really kind of wanted to do it as a Vader Monkey Vlogs 2 channel, but then I realised that the behind the vlog content really wasn't gaining any traction, and to be fair, I was kind of stringing myself out, and I was kind of wasting my time with it a little bit as well. So I've gone back to, like, you know, mostly focused it on my love of cars, living with an old vehicle. Again, like I've said in previous comment, making that old vehicle work for you. And yeah, I'm just hoping that I'm providing you guys with interesting and informal content, and So that was a truck pull event raising money for St Catherine's Hospice. It was a fantastic day. It was a fantastic event. I believe a fair amount of money was raised as well. Just lovely weather, and there's some pretty strong people out there as well. It was involved with I think a local fitness centre as well. So it was well coordinated, well organised, and yeah, it was absolutely amazing. So what's happening with my car? What am I doing with preparing it? Well, some of the areas of the car are looking a little bit unsightly, and I kind of wanted to tidy it up just a little bit. A few little things to mention if you've watched previous content is my aero strakes. I lost an aero strake on a motorway journey about a few months ago, so I'm down to 4 strakes instead of 5, but it hasn't affected the aero too much. The car still drives pretty sound. The unsightly thing is the front splitter lips on either side of the car. Now, if you remember, we were looking for a car for my partner. I'd hit a speed bump and it ripped off the support rods and it snapped the front of the splitter lips. Now, the front splitter lips are still damaged and unsightly, and I've still been unable to replace them or repair them. However, it's been suggested that I bond them to the S4 front splitter, and originally I was going to stick them, I tried sticking them with double-sided tape. That didn't work, they weren't strong enough, and I think the forces with the aero didn't really help the matter. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be bonding the front splitter lip, front splitter, the S4 one that's on the car, with these splitter corners. But whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to try and tidy up the front to try and give it a little bit more of a respectable, if not more sightly profile. I mean, it still works, it still functions, but also I'm going to perhaps add to the aero by maybe adding some directional strakes on there, just to kind of channel the flow to the wheel squirt and see what I can do with that. There's also the thought process of maybe doing a little bit more with the side skirts, but I'm going to look into tidying them up on the side of the car just so that it doesn't look too haphazard and bodge job. So it's going to be more of a case of tidying little bits and profiles. Obviously give the car a wash using PowerMax products, and yeah, just get the car looking respectable, ready for the drive down to Liverpool. It's not a long drive, it's only a 45-minute drive, but I thought with my friend John coming along, he's got his Mercedes. It's AMG, but it's a diesel one with the AMG body kit and spec on it, which looks absolutely beautiful, absolutely lovely. I am going to be doing a video on this car in future content because I feel as though it needs to be shown off a little bit, and also learn about how it works for him and stuff like that. So a few little bits coming up in this video, and yeah, I hope it's good. So yeah, just need to tidy this up. So this is flapping at the moment, so I'm going to seal it at the bottom, take all this tape off and seal it, and do the same. And then I'm going to look along the line of the front to see if I can get them looking a little bit level. The brackets have rusted a little bit, but replacing really was going to be a pain. That I will be repairing at a later date will be this front wing. There's a little bit of rust, but I've just kind of tidied it up to make it all look not too obvious to naked eye. The rear door's just a bit of a case which I'll tackle another day. But yeah, she's not looking too bad. It's just the little areas that need tidying up. So all in all, that's the only job really that I need to do to prepare the car for that weekend, and hopefully I'll get a few looks. It gets a few head turns and a few people asking about it. So basically those are the jobs that I'm going to be doing on the car. It's just going to be more of a case of sorting that wing out, getting it making sense, getting it tidy, getting it looking a bit more aesthetically pleasing than it just looking quite bodged. Admittedly, the bodge has been a temporary repair for the damage that was done in October, November last year, and I've kind of just been living with it. I am going to be redoing the bracket kit as well, because obviously it's, you know, the rot and everything with it being steel and everything, so I'm going to coat the steel and hopefully make it a little bit more durable and aesthetically pleasing as well. The aero still functions as intended, which is a plus. I am wanting to do a little bit more, add a few little extras to it to maybe get it a bit more sort of, there is that fine line between drag and flow, so I've got to work that out as well. I'm not an aerodynamicist, I'm not an expert in aerodynamics, but I know that the aero, and through doing tests as well, that the aero has improved the fuel economy, only by a very small margin, between 3 to 5 miles, depending on how it's driven. But you know, it's every way of eking the money out and to improve the aesthetics of the car as well. One thing I want to talk about too is you can put an aero kit on your car to actually help with fuel economy. Now, I've learned that it works more with diesels than it does with petrols, regardless of how you drive your car, more if you drive your car economically, within a slower speed or a parameter. Aerodynamics don't really seem to make too much difference unless you have a performance car and you're using it for track use, which kind of is very counterproductive. However, with diesels, and not necessarily performance diesels, but with diesels that, you know, motorway miles and stuff, and a lot of my aero that I've designed for my car or I've worked on my car, I wouldn't necessarily admit to designing it per se, but a lot of the aero that I've worked on for my car is more about the long distance driving, about the motorway runs, about, you know, the straight flat bits of road where you can cruise along about 60-70 mile an hour. Obviously if you're in Germany that can be a little bit more, and then you perhaps get maybe a better test. But the whole idea of the aero for me on my particular model of car was more drivability and economy. With my particular model, and I'll repeat it again because if you haven't seen previous episodes, the original design of the B6 SE, Audi A4 B6 SE Avant, and I would say some of the sedan models as well, the aero on standard suspension setting and everything makes the car feel a bit boaty. And what I mean by boaty is you've got the air flowing underneath the car, and as the air is going underneath the car, it's creating a bit of lift in terms of the way that it's buffering. If you use the aero system, which is on current Formula 1 cars, which is basically the ground effect, I've forgotten the scientific name for it, no doubt there will be somebody in the comments that puts it in there, and that creates basically a sort of, as the air's going underneath, the air is reduced because there is like a little dip underneath, and it creates basically a smaller area for the air to go through. As the air goes through, it sucks the vehicle down. Now obviously I can't do that with my car, and my car is not performance orientated. So what I've got to do to negate that is I've got to create a way of controlling that airflow, not just under the car but over the car, and mostly focus on over the car. Now people have suggested, why don't you put a spoiler on your car? A spoiler, a rear spoiler at least, will create drag, and that can be counterproductive, especially if you're trying to drive economically down a straight bit of road. So obviously the cars are designed in a certain way with airflow in mind. However, you can always put bits on to kind of charge that airflow to create more of a stability, and therefore also create a bit more sleekness to it. Now, the way that I can describe it in terms of sleekness is your electric cars. If you look at them, they don't really have many jagged shapes. They're a little bit, I mean, the Tesla looks like a bar of soap almost. And the airflow is designed to just basically just go over. Now on my car, it's a little bit more, shall I say, abrupt in some areas as far as shape is concerned. And the air, basically, I wanted it to flow over the car, but be controlled in some way. So the front splitter, which I have, which obviously on its own doesn't make too much difference, it just kind of is more of an aesthetic look, but the splitter add-ons that I've put it on have created more of a directional channel for that air to go up, over or under. Either way, it's created a way of keeping the car as stable going forward. Now, you could say, well, why don't you put like extra elements on that front splitter, which I'm going to do at a later date, but I'm going to do it in a way where I'm channeling that air a little bit more to either the tire squirt or intended areas. I'm looking at putting cooling for my brakes on there. Not for performance, more for, let's say, a situation where I have to brake suddenly, and there's a lot of heat generated in braking very quickly, especially when you've got standard brakes and they don't perform as reactively as, let's say, performance brakes would. Again, that's another route I'll be going down at a later date. The side skirts are just flat plane, so they don't seal the air underneath. They basically guide the air along the side of the car. If you've got to imagine there's airflow going down the side of the car, and as it's going along, if it's going along a flat surface, it can keep it stable, but the little elements on it, such as the door mouldings and the side skirts, it basically gives an extra sort of knife edge sort of effect going through it. I mean, this is how much I know about aerodynamics. I'm not, if I knew the full scientific terms, I could give it. But in terms of understanding my vehicle and understanding where the airflow is or where the airflow is going on my car, this is how I'm kind of working on this idea. So the side skirts are designed to basically guide the air in a way where it again stabilizes the car. As the air's going over, I've discovered that the side skirts do have a little bit of flex. So as they're going along like that, so the air's coming this way, they go down a little bit. Now, I don't know whether that seals it a bit or what, I don't know. I haven't got a wind tunnel. I haven't really got any aerodynamicist professional friends to kind of help me on that. So I'm going to assume that that is helping in some way. Underneath is obviously flat, but I am looking at taking a little bit of a leaf out of the Porsche 911 992 idea with the little aero fins directing airflow underneath the vehicle. Now, that's not exactly flat underneath because it has a diffuser and it has active aero and stuff like that, but the elements where kind of I don't have that, I want something like, you know, somewhere where it just guides the air to in a direction where I can direct it in a way where again it stabilizes underneath the car without creating drag, of course. So then obviously, because I don't have ground effect or I don't have sealed side skirts to keep the air trapped underneath, I want to use effects where it's just guiding the air along in a position where the car remains stable, and controlling it on a straight bit of road or maybe on a spirited drive down a country road, it will feel a little bit more, you know, compliant. Excuse me, because I am full of hay fever at the moment. And yeah, so that's what I'm looking at doing underneath. At the back, it's a little bit of a grey area because I have put a diffuser-esque effect on there. I have got bits to go on to maybe emphasize that diffuser, maybe make that diffuser a little bit more functional. I don't feel as though it's necessarily working, but then again, I have a lot of stability in the back of the car, so would it make much difference? I don't know. The little corner fins, they were just an add-on. I don't think they're doing too much, but again, the car as a whole feels much more stabler along the motorway on long distance driving, and again, it's helped with economy in that respect. The roof, with the roof fins, I've lost one on the motorway, so I don't think it was stuck down properly, but in the meantime, the way that it's working and everything, I feel as though it is functioning in a way where, you know, it's condensing the air. Now, the reason for having those little strakes where they are on the roof is to channel the air and basically charge it over the flow of the back of the car. Usually if you have a spoiler, it creates like a little vortices and kind of makes the draggy effect on it. And I want to use the shape of the car to create a sleekness even though again it's not a bar of soap, it's a little bit of an obtuse shape, if you will. So I wanted the air to flow over, go along the back, and maybe meet with the airflow at the back. So, you know, in terms of visualizing the aero, I have in theory come up with the ideas and the solutions. In practice, the car feels stable. The car doesn't feel well, there's no way that the car feels unstable in any shape or form. So drivability is absolutely fantastic. You know, it's just refining things and maybe other areas maybe to refine to maybe exploit that aero a bit better. I mean, the whole target with this aero idea is to make the car aero efficient, and try and eke out extra fuel or extra miles per gallon. And so far on average, just on a base test compared to before and after, which I wish I'd videoed it, which is kind of the bit of the problem that I struggle to prove with. I mean, I'm going to see if I can find somebody who's got a standard version of the car I've got and standard version of the car and the version, I mean, obviously I've got the version I've got, and compare both vehicles and see if what my theory is working. At the moment, the numbers working out on the HUD, the average fuel consumption, are showing that my fuel economy has improved. It could be the way I'm driving. You know, there are other areas that maybe I need to do to rule it out, which I am going to do over the coming months. And yeah, it's just trying to squeeze it out. And I mean, there is this pressure for people to go into electric motoring, hybrid motoring. Some hybrids are more fuel efficient really than my car. A lot of petrol cars, newer petrol cars, are a little bit more fuel efficient compared to my car also. But this is about living with an older vehicle, making it work for you, and really trying to maximize, you know, what you have in your pocket, left in your pocket, especially when we've got, you know, a cost of living crisis, if you will. And yeah, it's just all about making things work and making it financially viable. If you're asking where I've got some of these parts from, I'll be honest, a lot of them have come from Temu, or cheaper, similar companies. And basically, instead of using them as they are or putting them on as instructed, I've put them on in a way where it's more beneficial to my car. I mean, there's elements of some bits that I've not used because they're not going to work. They're of no use to my car anyway. But other little areas which I've got bits for, I am experimenting without trying to make it look like Frankenstein's creation, because I do want to keep the aesthetic of the car as intended. I do love the colour. I do feel as though I need to upgrade the interior, because the interior is looking a little bit tired and raggedy, and also I need a new carpet because I have had water getting in the car in the past due to blocked drain off points. So I am looking at getting new floors and new carpeting in there, but whilst it's in there, maybe improving things on the inside.
Do you remember where you parked the car?